life is not about how you feel. One of the biggest things that causes the demise, the downfall, problems for people's lives is that they let their emotions lead them. You do things based on how you feel. Emotions are fleeting, but the consequences may last a lifetime.
How did those experiences shape the way you think about legacy?
Legacy is just a direct debit away. You have direct debits for so many things that are not going to leave a legacy. The subscriptions that you have are making other families rich. So why wouldn't you, someone that's meant to leave an inheritance for your children's children, someone that says that your family is the most important thing to you, someone that will say that your family is more important than your phone, why would you not use the easiest thing in the world to secure that?
You were saying to me that you don't believe that the government wants people to build generational wealth.
A lot of people view the government like they're supposed to be humanitarian police. When we look at the practicality of how a government behaves, they behave like a business. They have their own agenda. And it would be counterproductive for a business to make everyone wealthy.
Yeah.
You have to learn the rules of the game and play it to the best of your ability. Unfortunately, you are in a game whether you believe you're in the game or not in the game.
From a practical point of view, how can people then play the game better? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Ato. We have a special guest in the building. We have Ayo, who's a financial protection specialist who teaches people how to build, protect, and pass on generational wealth. Known for breaking down life insurance, income protection, and legacy planning in a clear and culturally relevant way. He's built a mission around helping people position themselves with the system, not against it. How are you doing, bro?
Doing very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, it's been a long time going, man. Yeah, no, we've been talking about having this, conversation for a long time. So I'm glad that we've finally been able to, make it happen. And we were also talking about like my holiday issues. So I think this conversation is going to be quite a relevant one, right? So every strong message comes from a powerful stories, and yours started long before the financial world. When you look at the person you become today, how do you define who Ayo is and what you stand for?
That's a good question. How do I define who Ayo is? I would say I'm an honest, devoted, mission-led person. I'm a born-again Christian. I'm a husband. I'm a brother. I'm a son. And I'd say I'm a loyal friend. So in terms of how I've got to this position, I'll say it's a culmination of someone that loves to learn from other people's mistakes and learn from my own mistakes and, try to avoid the pitfalls that are avoidable, and someone that takes accountability and says, whatever I can do, let me do. And, I rather look inward rather than say it's this person or that person's fault. Yeah. And I think that just applies across the board.
Okay, cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of your upbringing. Right. What would you say some of the key moments that kind of shaped you, especially in your upbringing?
Key moments that shaped me in upbringing. I think the discipline that my dad instilled in the short time that he was here. So when you look back, you hate everything, but you appreciate everything at the same time. In that moment, you hated it. But today, when I look back, I appreciated it. Like, for example, his just the things he would say, the things he would instill. Like, for example, one thing I always remember him saying is, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So for me, I've always carried that. And, in today's world, people will say yes to anything. They don't stand for anything, so they fall for everything. So I think that's one of the big things I learned from him. Like, even the way he was from the early onset, from an early age, very big on education. Like, I was doing times tables at 2.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Like he used to have this thing that he implemented for us called reading time. That was every single day after school, you had to study between 6 and 7. And on the weekends, it was between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., regardless of what's happening.
Wow.
So if you didn't do that, you knew you were in trouble. So now, do you know what I mean? Like when your friends are just playing out at random times, God forbid it falls between 1 and 3, you're not going outside, So it's things like that. But then when you look at, how maths is so easy for me now and understanding things, I grasp things very quickly, I learn things very quickly. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I can see why he's done that now.
What do you think that instilled in you having to, have the study time every day? Like, was it 7 days a week? Yeah,
7 days, Monday to Sunday.
Yeah, what do you think that instilled in you, having that consistent, study time every day?
a discipline and the quickness of being able to understand that life is not about how you feel. One of the biggest things that causes the demise, the downfall, problems for people's lives is that they let their emotions lead them. You know, you do things based on how you feel. Now, doing things based on how you feel, emotions are fleeting, but the consequences may last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Emotional men, they end up in prison. They end up, you know, people that can't say no to their urges, they end up becoming the worst types of people in the world. People that say, because I was angry, I've now stabbed or shot someone. So it's not about doing things based on how you feel, and, you know, actually maybe approaching life from a logical standpoint, yes, I may feel like I don't want to do it, but it must be done, and get into grips with that very quickly.
Okay. No, I appreciate you saying that, because I think it's important I really like the fact that you say that emotions are fleeting, because it's true. Sometimes you do have to get what needs to be done. And I think if people were more disciplined and honest with themselves, they will get way more things done. Like, a lot of us have goals, a lot of us have dreams or things that we want to do, right? But what's actually stopping us from doing it is ourselves. It's not really anything else but that. If we're going to be really honest, right? And the people that you see that are like, maybe you look up to, that are successful, is because they're doing those things in the dark. You just don't know that they're doing that, right? You know, so it's yeah, I think it's quite important. So growing up in a 2-parent household as the oldest of 3, with your father passing when you were 16, what impact did that have on you, and how did that early event shape your view of money and security?
Well, the impact it had was, I'd say, I very quickly understood that, you know, you're on your own when it comes to the things that you want. In terms of needs being met, they were met, but things like, you know, that the average child would be able to ask their parents for, you know, as a child, because you just want it, I couldn't do that. So, I mean, even before he passed, you know, even in school, I was selling chocolates and things like that in the playground for what I wanted. If I wanted a PlayStation, if I wanted new Air Forces, if I wanted anything that was outside of like a necessity, you have to find a way to do that yourself. So him passing just compounded that, because, you know what I mean, now my mom's the sole and only breadwinner for, you know, young kids, because the age gap between me and my siblings is like 4 years between me and my brother. So imagine he's 12 at that time. And then it's like 8 years between me and my sister. So she's like 8.
Wow.
And I'm 16. But to basically be going to college and stuff like that. So you kind of, it's almost like a -1. It's almost like, at that point, my mom basically has 2 kids rather than 3. So from there, it quickly, like, you know, you got to man up and be responsible for yourself. I'll say that's the impact. In terms of, you know, obviously at that age, I didn't know about, you know, what I know now in terms of life insurance and things like that. So I didn't know that there was an alternative. But what you do know is that there is no inheritance. You know, like, other people might have got something, other people might have inherited that. For you, it's not even a thought.
Yeah.
So at that time, it was just, okay, you're on your own now, like, and death is very real. So I got to grips with, you will die, like, very early in life, and it's like, yeah, it's a real thing. It's like, it's almost nothing. It's almost not even something to cry about. Like, yeah, you'll cry and it'll be painful, but as for accepting that reality and getting out of that mind of, oh, I'm never going to die, it was gone very quickly.
Yeah. So do you feel like that kind of like, because obviously I think most of us know, but sometimes we kind of not forget, but we're so busy that we're not even thinking about that. Did that give you an urge to be like, yeah, I need to make more money, or I need to be at success? Do you feel like that pressure like landed on you like after that happened?
I wouldn't say immediately at that age, at 16. I think, I mean, remember at that point in life, I still wanted to be a footballer.
Okay. So that was the goal.
Yeah. So money being the sole driver of things wasn't necessarily the direct impact of that event.
Okay.
I think as time went on in life, and obviously I've gotten older, and I've seen what happens when you don't have money versus what happens when you do have money. That's when obviously money needs to be made, and you need to do it well, type of thing. Yeah.
So I guess at that age, maybe, because obviously we're not really, like you said, you were selling drugs and stuff, but that was more for like, you know, what you wanted to do. Do you feel like in terms of, you know, that situation, like what would you say in terms of how that shaped you? Like you said that made you feel like, you know, like you realize, okay, yeah, we're all gonna die. Did that have like any other kind of impact on you? You say?
Yeah, you know, inadvertently, you almost become your sibling's parent.
Yeah.
So even if you don't mean to, you feel like you have to, because it's like, it's just your mom, and you're the oldest, and you're the guy, and they don't have a dad, and you've had the dad the longest out of everyone, because you're older than everyone. So it's almost like you feel you step out of just being an older sibling and almost an unspoken parent.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. Yeah. That's the thing, right? Like when being the oldest, sometimes you don't get a choice of being the oldest, but like it's like you're almost like, you know, your parents are like the generals, and then you're like kind of like their right hand, having to support it.
They're the manager, you're the captain.
Exactly. No, it's real though. It's what it is, right? You know, in those kind of situations. So you mentioned when we spoke, right, that you end up working in recruitment, right? So I guess you've lived both sides. You know, you lost a parent with no life insurance, and later you saw a friend receive £126,000. I know that you did this, that you made a post about this, right? So they received that by an inheritance that set them up for life. How did those experiences, you know, shape the way you think about legacy and fuel your passion for, you know, helping others on a plan theirs?
It showed me that it's not an excuse. Like, having no legacy, leaving nothing behind, you don't have an excuse anymore. You see, once upon a time, like even when you talk to people and you say, do you have a will? And they say no. See, first of all, everyone thinks that wills are just for people that are rich. Yeah. That's the first concept. It's the same with inheritance. Inheritance is something that the rich leave. So everyone thinks that, well, if I don't own a business, I'm not a multimillionaire through some sort of entertainment space or something, and, you know, I don't own a crazy property portfolio, then legacy I'm exempt. And seeing that showed me that all of that is a myth and a lie. Yeah. Secondly, I mean, as Christians, you know, the Bible says a father is meant to leave an inheritance for his children's children. So, in fact, leaving money to your kids you're not even fulfilling the scripture. You need to be able to leave money to your kids and your grandkids. Yeah. So, and you get a lot of Christians that, you know, aren't covered, but yet it's in there to do that. And it's like, you know, seeing that the difference, and all that needed to be done was to have a specific direct debit, to me is what changed it. Yeah. Because you're telling me legacy is just a direct debit away. You have direct debits for so many things that are not going to leave a legacy. They're not going to impact your family for, you know, the greater good. It's not doing anything for your family. In fact, the subscriptions that you have are making other families rich. So why wouldn't you, someone that's meant to leave an inheritance for your children's children, someone that says that your family is the most important thing to you, someone that will say that your family is more important than your phone, why would you not use the easiest thing in the world to secure that, have peace of mind, and leave them in a better place when you're gone? Yeah.
That's the thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think that there's an element of, you made a great point, to be fair, and it can't be argued, right? At the end of the day, like you say, direct debits, yes, okay, you know, they could be for things you enjoy, but at the end of the day, right, like that inheritance for your kids and your kids' kids, it's gonna be more valuable, if anything, right?
Than anything.
You know, and I don't know why enough people don't engage with it, but that's why we have these conversations, so people can really engage with it and think about doing it, because, you know, it's always a shame. Like I was telling you offline, right? Like, you know, I traveled. And fortunately, I had travel insurance. So,
thank God for insurance, right?
Exactly. I had travel insurance. So there was a bit of an issue. I wasn't able to get to my final destination. And fortunately, because I have travel insurance, I don't have to worry about that so much. I'll be able to get, you know, hopefully most of the money back. I'll be able to recoup on any expenses that I paid for as well. And this is the beauty of it. You don't want to have to utilize it, but at some point it's gonna come in handy. And I think these things are, you know, quite important. So the person that you worked with that got the 126,000 inheritance, they end up buying a property with it, right? That's what set them up.
That's what set them up. Yeah.
Did you, when they did that, did you speak to them and try to gauge from their perspective, like, bro, like, what kind of was it, like how their life had changed from that? Like, did you speak to them about that?
Well, I mean, you could see it. This is someone that used to complain about work and not being paid enough.
Okay.
All of a sudden, he never had a complaint ever again.
Right.
He would he would use all the annual leave in the world to just travel, because he like that's all he did, because he made more from the properties than he did from the full-time work. So the full-time work became play money for him.
Okay. Oh, so he used the money to invest in property.
So he rented out the rooms.
Oh, smart kid.
So he didn't use it to live and stay. No, that was like, he used that to actually make more money.
Ah, smart kid.
To set himself up, to buy himself that freedom.
I feel like he got advised to do this.
I mean, his granddad's got life insurance, doesn't he?
Yes.
So his family already thinks in a certain way anyway.
Yeah. Probably was being told maybe about this, like, okay, this is what you do with the money. Not even like maybe like with that particular money, but just instilling the education and knowledge. So if you do get a lump sum, you know what to do. Because the truth of the matter is if people are being very honest with themselves, if you were to be given 100k, 150, 200k, would you know what to do with it? And that's the thing. So you know, when people talk about the financial literacy, why is it not financial literacy? What you see is basically something that is a family thing. Yeah,
that's the truth of it. So the reason why you are not financially literate, look at your parents. Respectfully, like, I'm not trying to diss anyone or anything, but do you know what I mean? Those that know, you can only pass on what you know. So think about it. If it's not taught in school, how will you learn? What people feel about money, their relationship with money, is all based on their upbringing. Yeah. So if your parents aren't aware, then what they're aware of is what they'll pass on. To those that they have parents that are aware, what they're aware of is what they'll pass on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So everyone's just passing on their money habits, because there's no specific school of money.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. And I think that no, you hit the nail on the head at the end of the day, because if we actually deep it and think it, because we lack financial education, like you're saying, then the reliance becomes on where do you get your education is from your parents. And if your parents don't have the financial education or have not been taught how to, manage it, maybe they haven't had financial advisors and stuff like that, which would have passed those onto them, then you can see why people struggle. And even if you do make money, you do see why people lose it, because it's like they don't know the fundamentals of how to manage it and grow it and sustain it, which is quite sad. And you see that a lot, and that's why they say what happens with lottery winners, because it's not always about getting a huge lump sum. It's about knowing what to do with it. It's not always about just, okay, you now got $1 million, right? It's knowing how to sustain it. So anyway, people are listening to the podcast, so I have confidence in you that you know how to do it, because you're interested in the subject, right? So what made you like move from recruitment to the finance industry? Was it that like seeing your
definitely definitely that it's a very financially rewarding space to be in, but it's just realizing, because we always say, how come we don't know? And I just felt like, okay, our community needs someone that looks like them to tell them, so that it's not an outsider, so to speak. Yeah. Because we're already saying that we don't know, so it means the outsiders aren't telling us, right? So, right, why don't someone that look like you tell you? So I thought, right, if I'm in the inside, I can tell you exactly what it is. And then when you get in and you realize that, the average age of an advisor is 55 and, they're white, it's like, oh, okay, maybe that's why we don't know, right? Okay. So, being 30, and I mean, at the time I was under 30, is a very rare thing. It's not a common thing. So
it's not, no. You're very young in the financial services industry, which is good. No, I mean, when I say very young, you're a young person compared to 55, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, what's that like for you? Like being in an industry where the people are a bit. There's nothing wrong with people being older, but where the average age is much older. Yeah.
It's fine for me. I mean, I've got the advantage, right? I'm younger. I'm able to use technology in a way that they might not use technology. Okay. I'm able to use social media the way they might not be able to use social media. And I'm able to speak to, multiple age groups. I have clients like people's parents, clients that are younger than me, Gen Z, clients that are, age mates. So it's being able to, reach every age demographic and, every type of person. Because every person has a different use case for the same exact product.
Yeah. exactly. And I think this is it. Like, financial services does need to be disrupted, and I'm glad there's people like you doing it. I think it's quite important, especially to reach out to like the millennials and Gen Z, because I think like for sure. And look, not just millennials, Gen Z. What's before millennials? Gen X, is it? Or
boomers, aren't they?
I don't even. Yeah, let me say millennials, boomers. Well, no matter what age you are, I think that if you're interacting with this subject, I think you're putting yourself in good hands, and you're going to be better off than if you didn't. And I think that's quite important. So when we spoke, right, you were saying to me that you don't believe that the government wants people to build generational wealth. Can you give specific examples where you've seen that playing out?
Well, let's look at it, right? First and foremost, how do you view the government? I feel like a lot of people don't view the government the way I view the government. A lot of people view the government like they're supposed to be humanitarian police. What do I mean by that? A lot of people feel the government's supposed to provide housing, jobs, and, just to make life really good and easy for you to live in a specific country. That's the ideal. When we look at the practicality of how a government behaves, they behave like a business. They're not here for you to just be like, kumbaya, I just really love living here. They have their own agenda. And it would be counterproductive for a business to make everyone wealthy. Because if the government made everybody wealthy, then everybody would be independent of the government, which would then they would be the architects of their own downfall and the relinquishing of their own power. Who's going to do that if we're applying common sense and being logical? None. Okay. No one. Here's also why. Let's look at how the government makes money. See, this is the thing. When they say follow the money, if you follow the money, you get all the answers you want. Okay. Let's follow the money. The government makes their revenue and income through taxes, right? Let's now look at all the ways of tax being paid. The highest tax-paying group is PAYE, because that is 45%, and they get to get the money first before you do. Mm-hmm. It could even potentially be higher, because obviously when you get into certain tax brackets, you even lose your personal allowance. So let's say, for the sake of argument, the highest tax bracket the government can generate is 60%, for the sake of argument, right? Then you have self-employed, which is near enough almost the same, but at least they get to make deductions first. Then you have businesses, which is between 19 and 25%. Then you have investors, which is at most, let's say 18%. Do you now see why? And then bear in mind, the closer you are to the business and investor, the wealthier you are.
Yeah.
Naturally, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So from that alone, tell me why I would want everybody to be in that category as a business. I wouldn't, right? Mm-hmm. Then you said, how have I seen this play out? Let's look at the schooling system. School in itself is a training ground. School is free, but it costs money. If you were an investor at all, right, and you were putting your money into something, you would expect a return on investment, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Naturally, right? Yeah. Any good investor would want a return on investment. Cool. So let's see what the government's invested in and made free. School is free, but the teachers have to be paid. School is free, but some of the lunches are free. And school is free for a sustained period of time. So it means that there's a sustained investment. Now, what happens when you go to school? You are taught certain things, but you're not taught financial literacy. You're not taught how to actually be a millionaire. You're not taught how to actually be rich and manage money, right? But you're taught everything else as to how to be an employee. Once again, which category pays the most tax? Employees, right? Mm-hmm. So is it not a conveyor belt of literally the government building their 45% revenue stream?
I mean, when you present it like that, that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Then to further the point, look at private school. Who is that paid by? Individuals, right? Civilians that tend to be what? Wealthy, business owners, right? Mm-hmm. What type of teaching do those students get?
Very good.
It's not really how to be an employee now, is it?
Yeah, that's true.
And if it is to be an employee, it's to be, in the elite,
yeah,
or to be in power, to be in government.
Yeah.
Do you now see? Mm-hmm. If you follow the money, everything will be clear. Because think about it, if you as a business owner are going to pay for your child to go to school, you're not going to pay for them to go and start paying the most tax, right?
No.
You're going to pay for them to learn what you know.
I would pay for that. If I'd want my kids to be entrepreneurs, or at least at the top of the top. But that's the truth when you think about education, right? When people want their kids to have the best education, why? Because they want their kids to do the best in life.
Do you get it?
Yeah,
so now go into public school and expect, because so like when I see stuff like, oh, why don't the government teach financial literacy? It's because you don't understand who the government is. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It'd be like saying, oh, why isn't this serial cheater funding loyalty and monogamy? Because he's a serial cheater, that's why. Like it's the same with the government. It doesn't benefit them to do that.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm. You know what? When you say it like that, I think your arguments make sense, and it'll be good to hear people in the comments like what you think of what Ayo is saying. And I mean, the way you broke it down, that does make sense. And I think people do need to think about the systems that they are in and think how to position themselves. Even if you don't want to become a business owner or whatever, at least be aware of where you stack. And
that's what I say to people. Yeah. You have to learn the rules of the game and play it to the best of your ability.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, you are in a game whether you believe you're in a game or not in a game. And the rules apply whether you think, whether you're aware. Ignorance will not save you in this one.
Yeah.
Like I liken it to a football analogy. If we're playing 11-a-side football now and you don't know the rules of the game and you pick up the ball in the box and you're not the goalkeeper, do you think if you say to the referee, oh, but I didn't know, it's no longer a penalty? Mm-hmm. Whether you knew or not does not exempt the consequence from happening. Yeah. It's the same thing with life and money. Mm-hmm. And even to further the point about the government even further, just to show you, just another point, in case someone has an argument in the comments. The rules at hand are, if you do the jobs of the government, which is what people expect them to do, you are going to be rewarded. Here's how. If you become a business owner, right, and you say, I'm going to create 100 jobs, meaning I'm going to create 100 PAYE workers. The government will give you tax breaks because you've just given, in their mind, it's 1 for 100. Mm-hmm. Why not?
Yeah, okay.
So you look at the richest people and how they don't pay any taxes. Why is that? Because they're producing other people that are. So why is we as the government, why are we going to be so hell-bent on your 100 million that you're not paying tax on when you've just given us 100,000 people that we're going to tax at 20 to 45% before, without them being able to do anything about it?
Yeah.
Do you think we care about the 20% of your 20 million when we're going to go and get 100,000 people that are going to pay us 45% tax?
Yeah.
On anywhere from 30 to 100 grand. Mm-hmm. It's a small price to pay to have the, do you get it?
Yeah, I get it.
If you build property, if you're a property developer, you get tax breaks as well. Why? Because you're providing housing, the housing that they so say that they're supposed to be doing. It's very straightforward. It's like anyone in life. If you've got someone that's going to do your job for you and do it well, are you not going to reward that person?
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
Same thing. So if you solve the problems that the government are supposed to solve, you get rewarded for doing that. They're supposed to create jobs. Entrepreneurs create jobs and employment. The government rewards you because you're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. They're supposed to provide housing. You do that. The government rewards you because they're supposed to be doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's definitely a question about the system and the current system and if it does work, if it still does work. And maybe I'll have a further conversation about this because as you're saying it, it's like, okay, but where should we land? And you know, it's a bit of a tough one because on the one hand, it's like if you got people working, you kind of want it to be a bit more fairer. Like I'm not saying
you want it to be,
yeah.
But again, remember at the start I said I like to control what I can control.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's easier for me to control my destiny and do what the rules. Observe what happens in real life.
Yeah.
Like, you know, look at how things play out. Not theory, not what should be. What is. We can sit here all day and say the government should be paying, you know, people better and this and that. Or we can look at, okay, what industries pay well? Let me just go there. Versus trying to fit a square in a round peg and shoehorn and force. Do you know what I mean? It's easier for me to go and if I want to get wet, don't stand in the desert and say, oh, why is the desert not wet? Why isn't the desert having more water? Versus if I want to get wet, just go stand where there's a river.
Yeah.
That's how I view things. Mm-hmm. When I see people complain unnecessarily, like not unnecessarily, like I get why they're complaining, but at the same time, it's like standing in the desert saying, why is there not water?
Yeah.
You went into the desert, like you knew beforehand, you know, that the desert is likely to be like that. You know, because some people go into certain industries that historically have never paid well. And then they wonder why they're not paid well. Because historically, it's not paid well.
Yeah. And I think there is definitely people do need to be mindful on that. And actually on that point, right, from a practical point of view, how can people then play the game better? How can people position themselves better in this system to, you know, do what works for them?
Two things. One, people need to be honest from the jump and reverse engineer their lives. Here's what I mean by that. You need to be honest with yourself truly. Don't limit yourself and say and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to accept what life gives me. What type of life do you want? Like, be for real. Like today, I was on the phone to someone. They were telling me that they're currently in Dubai and they spent 25 grand to go because it's business class for them, their wife, and 2 kids.
Wow.
But they did it because they can afford to. They have a business. They run a business with 2 other partners. It's a successful business. But do you see that you need to, if that's the type of life that you want, there is nothing wrong with it. You just need to reverse engineer it. You just need to ask yourself, okay, cool, what type of house do I want to live in? How much will that cost? What type of life do I want to have? How often do I want to travel? What level of traveling do I want to do? Count the cost. You doing that is already going to carve the path out for you.
Yeah.
Because you know if you want to go business class with your whole family, you're not going to go into certain jobs. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to say, okay, cool, I'm going to make my career as, you know, a retail assistant. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that role or that particular path doesn't allow you to acquire a certain lifestyle. So naturally, that gets cancelled out. So you start looking at, okay, cool, what are the lifestyles that pay that type, or what are the roles that pay that type that align with maybe my skill set, what I like, or what I'm, potentially open to learning so that I can acquire and have the life that I want. That's the first. The second thing is boring, but reading. Everyone has information, and we talk about education. Education is not a school thing. Education is a subject thing. Because when you say education, people naturally think of school, getting degrees and this and that. That's not what education means. That's just a form of education. Education is essentially the assimilation of information. The question is, what type of information are you assimilating? A lot of people are familiar. They know everything about football. They know everything about love and hip hop. They know everything about their favorite rapper or entertainer, who they're dating, who they're not dating, why is whose fault it is that they just broken up. They know information that you'd be surprised. How do you even know that? But the things that matter, that's not what they're interested in. They're not interested in terms of how the rules of, money, how the rules of taxes and these things work. They're not interested in that. And there's nothing you can do if they're not interested in that. So one thing they should do, start looking into that. Start looking into, okay, cool, how can I pay less tax? How can I actually, keep more money? How can I earn more money? Yeah. It's there. We live in a world of information right now. Information is easy to get. So if they have the interest to go and get it and actually take the time to read it, they will know.
Yeah.
Because whoever you trust, do you know what I mean? They're not the one making up the information. They've gone somewhere to get the information. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you can't also do the same.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important, especially, I'm very big on education, which is why, I'm so passionate about the podcast and just making sure that people are aware of this and are educated on this. And this is something, like I said, I don't know if I've said this enough, but, for me and with you, we've had our own journeys offline to get to the point that where we've got to. So, doing this work, I think is very valuable work to really help people, and I'm kind of thinking, right, that people are, people watching and listening to this, they're like, okay, cool. I understand what you're saying. I'm reverse engineering my life. I've got like my step 1, my step 2, but how can people actually take the action? Because there are some people where there's a bit of analysis paralysis, like they've started reading the books and they've done education, but they're not actually doing anything with it. How can they start actually moving forward? By
being afraid to make the mistake. The mistake, you can't view the mistake as the bad thing. The mistake is progress, because the mistake is you learning what not to do. So it eliminates that thing. So it helps even eliminate the analysis paralysis. Yeah. With the analysis, there's 1,000,005 paths. Which one's right? You're not going to know until you start try one path. At least your findings will be that path is not it. So you're not going to go down that path again. You're just going to have to keep going until you find the thing that works. So I think for the taking action, apart from taking action, there's nothing else that can be done. You just have to do it while scared.
Yeah.
So if you're waiting for it to be perfect, it's never going to be perfect. It will never happen. I mean, there's even a verse like that in the Bible. It talks about the farmer. If the farmer's waiting, essentially, the parable in essence is saying, if he's waiting for the perfect time to sow a seed and whatnot, he's never going to sow a seed because something will be wrong. Oh, I'm waiting for the wind speed, the sunlight, the rain, the ground, all the stuff, I'm waiting for all of that to check out at the same time before I start. One of them will always not be right. So you're just never going to start. So you just have to do it while scared, whilst imperfect, and then work your way to perfection.
Yeah, yeah. I would even argue that there's no such thing as perfection, that there's always going to be some problems, and you should just get comfortable with that there's going to be problems. Because let's be real, like as a human being, I think we kind of slightly, if you're being honest with yourself, you kind of slightly thrive on choice. You thrive on some form of excitement. I'm not saying that you want to have huge problems, but I think you thrive on something unexpected happening every day. Because if your life is always the same and expected, that becomes mundane and boring. Or like, you don't feel like you have any kind of, almost, not that you don't have any agency, but imagine your life was just like, you couldn't make any choices and you didn't have any problems. I don't think that, personally, maybe that's just my problem-solving mindset. I could be biased, and maybe it's my problem-solving mindset. I'm not saying that, guys, like I'm addicted to the problem, because I'm not. But I'm saying I think sometimes it's nice to be able to challenge yourself, is what I'm saying. Because I think with challenge comes growth. You need to be able to, I believe, grow as a person. Otherwise, you become bored. Anyway, that's just what I think about anyway. So I wanted to talk about, like, again, going back to generational wealth, right? So we did talk a little bit earlier about, so how much would you say about generational wealth? How much of it is about passing on assets, your property investment, versus passing on, behavior, mindset, and structure?
I would say I want to say 50-50. Because you can pass on the assets, the wealth, and everything, but without the knowledge on how to behave, manage, and steward it, it will just slowly go to zero. Do you know what? Maybe 60-40.
Okay.
Because if I pass on the knowledge and all of that, then you can actually acquire it.
Okay. So 60, what, knowledge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because let's say I don't give you any wealth, but I tell you everything that you need to do to become wealthy. You could potentially become wealthy. Yeah,
because we got self-made people, right? Yeah, that's done it.
Whereas, I mean, if I pass on the wealth and you don't know what to do with it, you will have it, but it's very likely you will lose it.
Very likely.
So both will have different ends. Though they have different beginnings, they'll have different ends. But in the best case scenario, and because we're aiming to be the best that we can possibly be, you should do both.
Yeah. I think it's that knowledge piece is again the reason why I'm banging it home. People, if people are feeling, I was talking a lot about it today. Yeah, I think because it's important. Honestly, it's important. This kind of stuff. I talk to the children in my family about money. Yeah, I talk to them about investing. When they're 18, I'm getting them invested. Yeah, because I wish that's what I did when I was 18. I didn't start investing until I was like mid-20s. And that's not, to be fair, that's not too bad. But I could have started in my teenage years, right? Warren Buffett, I think he started learning about investing before he was, a teenager. So no wonder he is what he is now because of all of that knowledge that he gained. So I think these things are from his parents, right? Like, quote me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that his dad or somebody was involved in it in some, not like an investor, but got him interested in it. So yeah, I think these things are important. And on that note, right, again, when we spoke, you said that you don't believe parents should charge their children rent. Can you break down why you feel that way? Because some people are gonna feel like, I don't agree with you, man. So yeah,
I've had that already. But
yeah, okay, cool. Tell me your reasons around that. Why do you think that?
Right, since we live in an age where we must include and preface every single person. Like, we live in a generation now where you say if you say your favorite color is blue, the reds and the pinks will say, "What about us?" So let's clarify now. I'm not talking about parents that are going to charge their kids rent and then, give it back to their kids, or parents that are going to charge their kids rent and invest for them and all these things that people say in theory. Because if it was really that common, we would see more home ownership. We're not seeing more home ownership. We're not seeing more wealth. So all that is just theory that people say to make excuses. What I'm talking about is the parents that are going to charge their kids rent for their kids to just literally pay rent. So essentially the parents have decided that their kids are now just a stream of income. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you're stopping your child from essentially using that money that's now going to die, because you don't have any equity, you're renting. So it's not like they help you pay off your mortgage or something. You're actually just renting. The money's dead. It's gone forever, for eternity. That money, if saved, could do a load of things. There's so many better things that your child could do for your child to get ahead. Like, I feel like especially charge your kids rent when you're not about to share responsibility. It's funny to me. And I just feel like if you're charging your kids rent, again, apart from mitigating circumstances, for me, when you look at it, how I look at it is this. Okay, cool. I'm not a parent now, right? But I'm 30. Where me and my wife choose to live, that's between me and my wife. We went to go and pick the place to live. Do you know what I mean? It was based on our finances. You're telling me that at 30 now, in the next, with an 18 to 21 year head start, you're telling me that extra £500, I need my child to become 18 and 21 for them to chip in?
Okay.
Because remember, you've had the child's not an adult when you've had the child. You're paying all the bills anyway. So for 18 to 21 years, you're telling me that the shortfall is, you've had that shortfall for 18 to 21 years. You couldn't figure out that extra £400 to £500 that you need your child to now catch up, grow up, get work, and then say, now you get. That's how I view it. Like, the child weren't there when we were picking where to live. I never consulted the child. I never said to the child, hey, where do you think we should live? What's your finances say? What do you think? So why do I now, as the parent, need them to come and cover my financial responsibility? Because again, unless people want to say in the comments, it's not their financial responsibility as a parent to be able to manage the household bills. Think about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're the parent. Because when it comes to decision making, authority, and that, like, is your child going to be allowed to say, well, as a co-payer of the bills in this house, I think you should be doing this? No. Are you not going to turn around? Do you understand? Imagine your child turning around, telling you, or what time do you think you're coming into this house? Hello. I'm a partner in this bill paying of this house. So when you're saying what happens under my roof and this, that, is it your roof? I'm a shareholder. Like, let's look at it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, you as a parent, you have responsibilities as a parent. And I get it. Maybe some children deserve to be charged, because if you're not charged rent, you're going to go and blow it on car finance like an idiot. But, unnecessarily. So maybe, yes, you deserve to be charged rent to stop you from doing other silly things. But in the grand scheme of things, if your child is making even just 30K in their first job, having the ability to be able to save £1,000 a month and things like that will do them so much good in the long run. When we're talking about getting house deposits and saving for weddings, they'll be able to do that in the space of 2 to 4 years. Versus, no, you're losing £500 a month that you could either be saving or investing because someone is just saying you live here. Then the argument will be, but if they're not living there, it's more expensive to go. They shouldn't be leaving the house anyway, too early. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Why are you leaving the house so early anyway? You're not getting married. You're just going out to do what? To have space. You should just be wise. Be wise. Then, and rather than complaining that cost of living, this, that, and the other. If you're living at home with your parents, even on 25 grand a year, and your parents are not charging you anything, and you're actually putting money away, you would have a really good investment. You'd be able to max out, maybe not max out your ISA, but over a period of time, you'd have a really good investment portfolio, or you'd have a really good savings pot. You'd have a LISA. If at 21 you've graduated, from 21 to 25, let's say you're on anywhere from 30 to 40 grand a year without paying your parents any bills, you're just paying for your phone bill and stuff like that. Look at how much money you would have saved.
Yeah.
You'd be able to buy your property, get married, do whatever you want. You'd have the money for anything and everything you want.
Okay. So why do you think then people do it then? I mean, you definitely feel strongly about it.
Me personally, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't, yeah.
My children would not.
I wouldn't charge my kids rent personally, but I'm also not like super against like people if they want to charge their kids rent. There are arguments.
They can do it. It's their kids.
Yeah, of course, it's their kids. But I mean, what you're saying at the end of the day, I think it is something that people need to think about, because I think ultimately speaking, like you say, if you're taking from them to pay your rent, then like you say, then that's potentially taken from them being able to grow something for themselves, to set themselves up, like you say, getting your first house. That first house is such a big deal for so many young people.
And it's getting harder.
So
we don't need to create more obstacles. Exactly. It's more expensive now than it was ever, than ever.
Yeah. So it's tough. It is getting that first, because once they get that first one, there's no guarantee that, you know, that they can get a second, but it's a higher likelihood, because obviously, you know, if you build equity over time, even if, let's say they didn't even want to do property, they wanted to do stocks and shares or whatever else they wanted to do in terms of wealth. Let's say they wanted to even use it for
start a business,
right? It does give them that opportunity. So I do understand it from that point of view. But I know people in the comments will probably be, you know, but like, support your parents. And I also do understand that, and I do get the support your parents. But yeah, I want to know from you, why do you think then people do it? Because you did make a good point. Like, it's true. Like, when you have the kid, you're not going to be thinking that, okay, some people might want their kids to be footballers. That's true. But you're right in the sense that people are not thinking, okay, when you're 18, now I'm going to start asking you for rent. So why do you think people do then charge their kids rent? Like, that you've seen and know about? And I think you've had a few conversations with people about this as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do I think that they charge their kids rent? I feel like it's a perpetual cycle of regressional wealth, not generational, regressional.
Okay.
In the black community,
I don't think I've heard that term.
I'm the first. I'm saying it. It's regressional, because in the black community, for some reason, everything is upwards. Everything is vicarious. Oh, when I was growing up, I didn't have the wedding I want, so my child's gonna have the wedding that I wanted to have. That's a form that it takes. When I was growing up, when my parents were wrong, I couldn't say they were wrong. So now I'm gonna perpetuate that same thing, where when I'm wrong, I'm gonna say I'm not wrong. How dare you say I'm wrong? I'm not gonna be honest. I'm not gonna tell the truth because I'm the parent. So it's like, instead of saying, right, I experienced this thing that wasn't good, let the buck stop with me. It's no, I need to backdate my one. Look, my mom was charging me rent, so I'm doing it to you now. So no one wants to be the one where it's like, I took the L and that's it. It's no, I need to backdate my one. That's the first thing. Second thing, like I said, there's mitigating circumstances, right? Obviously, if your parents are like pensioners, if your parents are like, you know, immigrants that, unfortunately, with all the time that they spent here, you know, they haven't upskilled, they haven't gone to earn the things, and then the cost of living is catching up to them. That's a very different scenario. That's what I said, the mitigated circumstances. I understand. We're talking about the ones that it's not mitigating. The person's just saying that you're a business now to them. You're a second stream of income.
Your second stream? That is too crazy.
That's what they've said. You're a second stream of income. You know, in the name of, I brought you to the world, so you're a second stream of income because I can.
Hey.
You know, that's what we're talking about. But again, it's the mindset of paying things forward at potentially their own detriment. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They don't want to pay things forward. It's selfishness. They don't want to pay things forward at their own detriment. I'm happy to pay it forward if it doesn't cost me anything, if I get to benefit as well. As long as I don't have to make any kind of sacrifice, why not? After all, I'm not making a sacrifice. But if there's a sacrifice to be made, or there's a potential gain that you have to forfeit, they don't want to forfeit that gain.
Yeah. There could also be an element of, you know, I'm not a parent yet, but I've got parents, and a lot of us have parents, and I think if you listen to your parents enough and they say certain things, and not just your parents, you just, you know, just knowing the older generation, they say certain things. I feel like there's an element of, from their part, sacrifice, or we've made this sacrifice, so they feel like they deserve something back from their sacrifice. But I think it goes back to your point. At the end of the day, I think like you're married, I'm married. When either of us are thinking of having kids, that we're planning that, right? We're planning to have kids, and me personally, anyway, I don't know about other people, and I'm sure you kind of said this too. When we're planning to have kids, in that plan is not I'm going to charge them at 18 years, or how can I get money back from them? If there is a return on investment, the return on investment for me is more about how do I get them to be the best version of themselves. They can set themselves up. They can be a top employee if they want to. They can be a top business person. That's what the return on investment is. Not about, okay, when I get to retirement, how can they fund me? Because I'm thinking about funding my own retirement. Do
you understand?
In fact, I'm even thinking about how do I fund their retirement. That's what it's about. So I think that's where I think the mindset and the thinking comes back. But I also do get that point of view where it's like, okay, if you've moved to another country, and even if you haven't moved to a country, let's say you even grew up here and you grew up poor, I could also understand that, okay, you've had kids and that, okay, I've suffered, I've taken care of you, I've sacrificed for you, so let me get something back. But I think that you have to fight that urge, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, now, if your kids want to help you, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask your kids for help, but I think you should try your best to let them flourish, and then let's say they flourish, then they can,
and that's the point. You see, when I say charging rent, I never said you should never collect £1 from your child till you die.
Yeah. As
frequent flyers, you fly frequently, right?
Yeah.
What's the one thing we hear all the time? What's the one thing they do on every single flight? Listen, if an emergency happens and the mask drops down, please put on your own mask before helping others. Think of why they have to say that, and think of the magnitude of that message. You are telling parents, people on this plane, on this flight, that love their kids more than anything and would rather their kids survive and something happens to them rather than the other way around, right? Yeah. You're telling those people, listen, I know that naturally you're going to want to make sure your kids are good, but I'm telling you, you have to be selfish in this moment. Secure yourself if you want the best chance of securing your own child. That's the magnitude of that message.
Yeah.
So that message needs to be applied in every aspect. If you want your kids to be able to help and whatnot, you have to let them be able to build themselves up. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they build themselves up, you're going to be able to get even more support, more help, more money.
Yeah.
But if they don't even have money and you're taking from, you're taking from a barrel that's empty, it's like, when are they ever going to build themselves up?
Yeah.
Because eventually they're going to get to a point where it's like they can't even do anything because all that time that they had that they should have used to compound building themselves up, it's been robbed. Whereas let them build themselves up, get to the point where they've established themselves, they're stable. All the support you need, you'll be able to get that in abundance. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
You let them use that window to build themselves up, get ahead. Because think about it, if you're able to get on a property ladder early and you're getting a 35-year mortgage or something, if you're getting a mortgage at 25 and it's 35, then at least, worst case scenario, you're going to be mortgage free by 60. Which is great. Meaning if you pay off your mortgage early, you're going to be mortgage free even earlier. Versus you're getting your property, later on, meaning that you're probably going to be mortgage free later on.
Yeah. And I think this goes back to the financial education, because if that financial education is there, okay, the more time you give a young person to either invest in the stock market, even build that property portfolio, the longer that compounds, the longer that they can build that wealth. And like we're saying, they can get to a point where okay, they're good. Now they can start using, let's say they build multiple property portfolios. They can now start sharing some of that income with you. It's not coming from that, right? Or, income from, their stock market. And they don't have to, but I'm saying that it's going to be a lot better than actually, I can never get onto the property ladder. I can never really invest in the stock market for a sustained period. So I think it's an important conversation. It's not something I really spoke about on the podcast. And I know, people will have strong feelings about it, but I think sometimes these conversations need to be had for people to think differently about that. For me, like I said, I'm not, there's no plans for me to charge my kid rent. And if I was to, it would be for a different reason. Yeah. It would be for this. Yeah. It would be let's try and teach you some discipline. Or actually, maybe you do pay something, but then what you're paying is invested in the stock market or whatever. or maybe it's in savings to help you buy your thing. So you see the process of, okay, this is your saving, compounding to do what you need to do with it. So yeah.
You remind me of something actually. One of the rebuttals that I get for this thing is, oh, how are they going to learn? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, that's one of the funniest rebuttals to me, because you as a parent, do you own a car dealership? No, but somehow your child knows how to pay car finance. So this whole thing of if they don't pay rent, how would they learn how to pay rent? What does that mean?
Yeah.
They're going to know how to pay rent because they're going to be told if you don't pay rent, you're getting kicked out of your property. So they're going to pay it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't own a telecoms company, do you? But somehow your child knows how to pay their mobile phone bill, don't they? So this whole thing, if they don't pay you rent, they will never know. It just makes me laugh, because it's one of those things where it's like, I wasn't charged rent.
Yeah.
I've never missed the payment of rent ever. So it's and I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's not a unique thing to me. Like, I'm just some guy that the only one in the world that doesn't miss payments. A lot of people don't, and it's not on the back of because they paid rent. So I feel like it's one of those funny excuses or funny rebuttals, really.
Yeah. So, over 70% of people who watch these episodes are subscribed. If that's you, hit the subscribe button. It really supports the channel, it helps it grow, and most importantly, lets us keep bringing you valuable conversations like this one. Plus, you'll be the first one to know when new episodes drop. Thank you so much for your support so far, and enjoy the rest of the show. I wanted to talk about 5 stages of wealth. Just as a reminder for people that did listen to my episode with Deborah, please do go and check that out. So this is something that I kind of developed. So there's 5 stages: survival, which is like covering basic needs, getting out of crisis mode, like paying off debt; stability, which is bills are paid, income is steady; growth, income is increasing, investing begins; independent, work becomes optional; and then legacy, focus shifts to wealth transfer. So for someone in the stability stage, right, where bills are paid, they're saving consistently, but not yet, building road momentum, what's the one move they should focus on to, start growing their wealth? What do you say?
Depends if they have this or not. But if they don't, developing a high income skill. I would say that's the first thing in terms of growing their wealth. I mean, if there's, it's one or two things. They could, if they're happy with the amount of money that they make already, then obviously investing. That's what I would, the long play. If they're just okay and they're not necessarily living the life they want, and they're more accepting what life has handed to them, and they want that to change, developing a high income skill would be what I would say.
Okay.
And the reason is they've already got a skill. They're already using a skill to generate money.
Yeah.
So that same skill could be refined. Maybe they might have other skills that are more financially rewarding. And if they were to look at that, that would help them increase the amount of money that comes in, which would then allow them to funnel that into buying assets much quicker and much, and at a larger scale.
Okay.
Which would accelerate their rate to wealth, right? Because it's like investing. You invest in £100 a month versus you invest in £1,000 a month. Trying to get to that million, it's going to be faster if you do it at £1,000 a month. And it's the same if they have a higher income skill. Because if they're left with maybe $5,000 off, disposable, being left with $10,000 disposable is very different, because now you can maybe invest in more things, or you can accumulate the capital faster to make particular investments, which is going to accelerate the rate of return for you.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that income piece is so important. And if you can increase that income, you've got more, pots that you can potentially put that into. And then at the growth stage, when let's say this person is starting to accumulate more, but hasn't put protection or legacy plans in place. And I think that's a lot of people focus on making more money. What's the biggest trap you see people fall into, and how do you help them avoid it? You probably had this conversation. A lot of people are high earners, making more money. People that are listening to this are wanting to make more money or are on that journey, but they haven't put these things in place.
One is because they don't know, but two, it's all about perspective. It's how they view it. A lot of people view protection from a defensive aspect. I view it offensively. Here's how. Let's say you want to invest and get to $1 million. You need time and compound interest to work in your favor for that to happen. If I buy £1 million life insurance, I've got the million now already. So whether or not time and compound interest works in my favor, the million is secured. So people need to view it as buying wealth. Just view it as buying wealth. View it as buying an inheritance. Because if you say, oh, I'm going to have investments by the time I'm dead, you don't know when you're going to die. Without the compound interest on and time on your side, you're not going to get to $1 million unless you put £1 million or whatever currency you have into that particular stock. That's just the reality. Because let's say you start investing, even whatever age you like. Let's say it's going to take 25 years. You start investing at 20, you die at 30. It's over. You didn't get to the million. You start investing at 20, you die at 40. You didn't get to the million. Like, because, you needed the 25 years.
Yeah.
Versus you take out a policy, you take out a policy at 20 or 18, you die at, 25. It pays. You die at 89, it pays. So now you've even got double the money. Because yes, your investments have worked, and also the insurance has paid out. Mm-hmm. And in the worst case scenario, your investments haven't worked, but your insurance has paid out. Mm-hmm. So they should look at it as buying wealth. That's what I would say.
I like that, buying wealth. That's good. Cool.
Think of how long it's going to take you to accumulate $1 million. Mm. If you wanted £1 million property portfolio, it would cost you at the bare minimum 100,000, and that's because you've probably bought a residential property. Mm. As in, from today, you want £1 million property portfolio. It's either going to cost you 100,000 or 250 grand. Hmm. Do you have 100,000 or 250 grand lying around?
Not yet.
How many people really have that lying around?
Exactly.
But for me to buy £1 million worth of inheritance, because bear in mind, you're building all this business and property portfolio to pass on to your kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the end. So you buying the $1 million is going to take you 30 minutes. You trying to build £1 million business and £1 million property portfolio could take you decades.
Yeah. I like I like buying wealth, because that's an interesting perspective to put on. And actually linked to that, you said to me as well that people shouldn't pass away for free. And I know the subject of passing away can make people, that's what we're talking about this. You know what? I'm not really thinking about me passing. It's like you say, it's like thinking offensively, defensively. It's about thinking about beyond you, I think. And I've had this conversation before in terms of just legacy, thinking about beyond you, and you mentioned you shouldn't die for free. Why is that important? Because I don't think enough people deep that, like, your life's hard work and it's like almost monetarily, financially, nothing to show for it that you can pass on to other people. Yeah,
because I've experienced what it's like when a parent dies for free. You see, the thing about dying as well, you see, this is how my brain works. My brain works like this. Okay, this thing called dying is inevitable. This thing called dying will happen to everyone regardless of age, race, social status, financial status, all of that. And it also comes at a cost regardless of who you are. And one of the things that stands out to me is that I've never seen a funeral home close down, no matter the area. I've seen lots of closing down sales in West End. I've seen closing down sales in the hood. I've seen shops open and close, disappear, but not funeral homes. So it means they always collect and they don't care. So imagine in the hardest time that a family will go through, they're still saying, yeah, we want our money though. Like, they don't even care, like, to be like, oh, I know you're grieving. I know it's an emotional time. No, you just get, a bill is coming anyway. Then you have the government that says, oh yeah, inheritance tax, we'd like that, thank you. Or probate. So it's like, why is everyone else receiving monetary gain at your demise, but not your family? Then you have things like, in my mind, okay, so this thing called dying is inevitable. And you're telling me that something that I can't stop, I can actually capitalize or make sure that my family capitalizes. Why wouldn't I? Imagine if, for example, someone brought out an app and said, hey, from today, every time you brush your teeth, tap the app and you will get £1. You've been brushing your teeth for free for how long? You're going to brush your teeth regardless whether you have the app or not. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
Yeah.
It's the same as dying. You're going to die whether you have it or not. Why not make the most of it? And what I say to everyone has 2 parents and they've got 2 parents each. That's 4 grandparents everyone starts off with, right? Think of it as this. Let's say you and your missus, you all have 4 grandparents each. If all your grandparents had $500,000 life insurance, right? That would be 4 million in one generation. If I was to ask you right now, how many of your grandparents have passed away before the age of 90? So what, should we say like 2, 3?
Yeah.
Let's say 3.
Yeah.
And let's say all 3 of them, let's say let's look at the pros. If everyone listens to me, let's see what life looks like. If everyone listens to me, That means your parents would have inherited 1.5 million. Now think of the age you were and the age your parents were at each death.
Yeah.
Getting 500k at all those different timestamps.
Yeah.
Would their life choices be different?
Definitely.
Would you be in a different position right now?
100%, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's if everyone listens to me. Now, let's say everybody doesn't listen to me. Okay, now they've passed. They don't have life insurance. At the different timestamps, your parent gets a new bill. Is that better or is that better or worse than what I'm saying?
I think it's better having the 1.5 mil. Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Is it
better.
better to inherit 1.5 million or is it better to get a 10k bill every time someone dies? Which one is better?
And it always increases every year. That's the
and
thing,
it increases
right?
every year.
You know, you having to deal. The thing is, when you're grieving, you just want to focus on the emotional. You don't want to have to worry about money. And that's the thing. When we talk about this, it's so that you don't have to worry about that. You can just focus on grieving and going through what you're going through, which is, you know, a tough, traumatic situation. And I think that's the important part, that's what you want to focus on. You don't want to be having to do that and then you're thinking, okay, but where am I going to get this? Do I have to work more? Okay, do we need to chip in? Do we need to? It's like, it's just not what you want on your plate. But actually, on this note, right, because I think, you know, I do recognize that, you know, I think people are definitely feeling, you know, the pinch financially. How can they still put the right protection and legacy plans in place without it feeling like unaffordable?
Well, I would strongly recommend that you speak to an advisor that is legit and you trust, aka myself. But let's say it's not myself, someone that you like and trust. Because they should be able to advise you correctly and, you know, guide you. Because here's the thing. I always tell every client, I have two types of clients. Yeah. I have client A, which is the client that gets the protection they need. So the protection that they're supposed to get, regardless of the price, because they have to. And I have client B that might be more price led, meaning that they need the policy tailored to their budget. I help both. It's just about the person being honest. And the thing about protection is, it's up to you. Like, if everyone watching this right now has an amount in their mind that if you say to them, this money secures your financial future, how much is your financial future worth to you on a monthly basis? That's not going to hurt you or break the bank. Whatever that number is, whether they think, oh, it might be small though, this number, that number will still get them something.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Does that make sense?
You still get something that works.
That's significant.
Yeah.
So someone
better
might
zero.
Do you understand? Someone might say, oh, but I only think £30 or like, and it's gonna leave six figures very likely. So now you might think £30 is too small. Yes, £30 is too small for you to have all the protection that you need. Yes. But for you to say, let me start off with that and over time add the other pieces of protection before it's too late, you're better off doing that. Now, that's the bare minimum. Not £30, but just in general, like whatever number you think in your mind, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you. Like what you spend on your phone contract, you could do that. You could do half of that. Whatever, because with this, it's like asking how long's a piece of string. It's unlimited. Okay. Someone can come to me and say they want 50 million. As long as you can afford what £50 million cover is, you can have 50 million as an inheritance.
Yeah.
So there's something for every single person, and the ROI will always be exponential.
Okay.
Now, there was even a situation, funnily enough, where I was telling someone, you're better off spending it on life insurance than not. They were like, why? I said, okay, cool, let's do the maths. The person was, how old was the person? 40. And it was like £80 or something. No, I'll give a better example. The person was 59. And the premium to secure 100 grand for their kids was, I think, £88. 88? Yeah.
A month?
Yeah, a month.
Okay.
Is it 88? No. Yeah, 88. And I'm in an arguing about it. And I said, let's do the maths. You're 59, right? Let's say 89 minus 59. That's 30 years times 12. That's 360 payments, right? Let's say that £88. You save it. Meaning that you have to live to 89, by the way. Because if you don't live to 89, this number will be even less because you're saving it instead. Mm-hmm. If he saves it, it's £31,680.
Okay.
Assuming he gets to 89. So there you go. Let's say you passed on 31 grand. By the time you're 89, you're 59, that's 30 years. How much is a funeral? Could easily be 20, 25 grand.
Mm-hmm. In that time, yeah.
In that time,
maybe
right?
Worse, yeah.
Maybe worse, maybe even more. So that's the 31 grand. Or you do what I'm telling you to do, buy 100K worth of life insurance, meaning that if you die any time, even if you only live for another 10 months from today, the 100 grand gets paid. Which one's a better bet?
Yeah. I mean, 100K, right? You want no more money.
That's how it always works. Yeah. So whenever they're thinking, oh, this is too much or whatever, I always say to them, do the maths. And then always ask yourself, what's the bigger risk to take? Mm-hmm. Is it easier to risk £88 or is it easier to risk 100 grand? And for people like yourself, you're a property owner, right? For people like yourself that maybe about mortgage protection, here's another one. What is a bigger risk? 3 figures a month to secure a 6-figure debt, or to risk the 6-figure debt and the roof over your head?
Yeah. Exactly.
Which one is the bigger risk?
Yeah.
So every day that you don't have the right protection is every day. So let's say you've got a mortgage or property. Every day you don't have the right mortgage or property or protection is every day you're risking your property.
Yeah.
Every day you don't have income protection is every day you're risking a 5 to 6 figure salary yearly.
Yeah. So then what do you think stops people? Because obviously from my point of view, like when you explain examples, and I think people listening to this will agree, and this goes for any type of insurance. It's not just this, because I feel like...
What's the bigger risk? The travel insurance, right? Like, how much was the travel insurance that you had to pay?
It wasn't a lot. It was less than 100.
And how much were the flights? 4 figures, right?
Way more than 100.
You see, what's the bigger risk? £100 that you might not ever claim with?
Yeah.
Or the 4-figure flight
that I paid? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's way... I feel like people, like, if it's like insuring your car, people are very active on that. They're very up for doing that. But like, and theoretically, most people probably would pay more for car insurance every year than you would for like the other types of insurance. So then what's stopping people from, making sense of it like this and say, actually, look, this is a no-brainer, right? Why don't I just do that?
A few things. How much time do I have, Ato?
You got time.
Okay, a few things. Let's start. Let's get it all out today so that today that question is fully answered. Right, the first thing is lack of knowledge. They don't know. So that group's been addressed. They don't know, that's all. If they knew, they'll do it. Second thing, selfishness. Okay. They haven't inherited, so why should I be the one to plant the tree? I'm not going to sit in the shade, so why would I plant the tree?
Okay.
Do you understand? Because it's very different when, imagine your grandparents have died and you got a 1.5 million. Yeah. You think it's going to be hard for someone to tell you to go and do the same thing? You've seen it, you've tasted it, you're going to do it.
Yeah.
So selfishness is the thing, because it's like, well, I'm paying for it, but I'm not benefiting. Yeah. That's that one when it comes to life insurance. Income protection and critical illness and things like that, that's them. So they probably just don't value their lives enough, because that goes to you, it's not going to anyone else. The other thing, in our community, you are not shamed. Like it's the perception. There's more respect and value and everything. Like it was so funny because my friend was actually the one saying this to me. Like, he's got insurance, obviously, so he probably said this, and he's got kids. And, what he said, which was so profound, was your friend's gonna shame you more and say, you can't roll around with me in a dusty banger in the car that you drive. You get more shame for the car that you drive than a friend would to their friend. Like, let's say a friend talking to their friend that has kids. You're not gonna shame your friend for having kids but not insurance. Do you get it? Like, you're not going to be like, you mean to tell me that you're going to leave your kids destitute and you ain't got insurance? Bruv, you got 4 kids. You should have 250K for each kid. Your friend ain't going to do that to you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another thing, the people that do have insurance in the community, they don't tell anyone. So when because it happened, because I was at the vet and the guy was asking me, he's got insurance. He's like, oh, so I love what you're doing. You're doing amazing stuff. Why do you think people don't have insurance? And I'm like, well, because... And I didn't know him. I don't know him anyway. I was just saying from experience. Lo and behold, he fell into the category. I was like, because people get insurance and not tell their friends. Have you told your friends? You said you've got insurance. Have you told? And he just put his head down and he was like, oh, you're right. I haven't said a word. I said, so how do we expect people to do it? Because the funniest thing is, you're going to discover your friend has insurance after you've done yours, and he's going to tell you, oh yeah, I done that 10 years ago. And you're thinking, 10 years ago, you didn't tell me. Why didn't you tell me? Then the other thing, people haven't understood how it's such an easy thing, because in your mind, it should be harder. It should be harder for you to leave £1 million inheritance than it is for you to go into 6-figure debt, right? But it's harder to buy a house than it is to leave an inheritance. Can you imagine? To me, it's
That's
funny.
true.
It's
That is,
harder
it's
for you
much
to
harder,
buy
yeah.
a house, go into debt, than for you to leave a 7-figure inheritance. Because to leave a 7-figure inheritance is a matter of answering a couple yes or no questions: height, weight, name, age, date of birth, pick a premium that you want to spend. Have you ever had XYZ illness? And it's over.
Yeah.
You've now got your kids are now on their way to inheriting 7 figures, or your family's now on their way to inheriting 7 figures. It's that simple. So I think those are the main reasons, and someone hasn't sat down to them and explained, listen, if all of you do this, this is where the next generation will end up. So like what I was saying about your scenario, if all your grandparents did that and your parents inherited 1.5 million, your parents, if they wanted to, could overnight have a net worth of about, let's say, maybe 6 million. Because imagine if they walked into the bank and said they want to borrow 4 times the money that they've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like imagine, like your parents say, okay, I've got $1 million. We're gonna put down 500K as a deposit from one of the things, and I want to borrow 4 times what I've got. Just like that.
Yeah.
Your parents now, you're telling me your parents got a 10% deposit. They've just bought 5 million worth of property, or 4 million worth of property, just like that. Overnight, their network, they've got a 4 million property portfolio with just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that. Now imagine the insurance they're going to now get to protect all of that. So it means your parents are going to have minimum about 4 million of insurance. So they're probably going to get more than that, so that you're left with cash as well. So now the next generation potentially inherits, let's say as time passes, the property portfolio just doubles. You mean to tell me your parents, from one generation dying, the second generation getting the money and investing in property like that, the next generation is probably going to end up with 9 million worth of property and millions in cash.
Yeah.
You see how one event that was going to happen anyway leaves the bloodline essentially unrecognizable.
Yeah.
This is what I want for everybody.
Yeah. And that's what is generational wealth. Generational wealth isn't just always passing houses and pensions. It's also what you're saying, right? In that inheritance as well. That's a big part of it as well. But, people will be listening to this and thinking, well, Ayo, there's so many, types of protection, right? Life insurance, critical illness cover, income protection, even business insurance, right? For the people listening, and, I've got people of different ages, right? How can they figure out, okay, what type of insurance I need for me? And what's like their first step to figuring that out and actually taking action on it?
Great question. So they could do one or two things. Again, speak to an advisor. I'll be able to tell you. Or even if you don't speak to an advisor, I can tell you now so that you know. If you are over the age of 18 and you work in this country, the minimum 3 protections that you need is life, income protection, and critical illness. That's the minimum every single human being over 18 needs. Like, that's what you need. Now, whether or not you value that, it's down to the person, but that's what they need. And if you're a homeowner, a 4th one comes into play, which is mortgage protection. If you have a mortgage, here's why you need those things. What you have to ask yourself is, in the event something happens along these lines, what will happen? In the event you die, will your family receive money or lose money? That's life insurance. So that's a given. Every single person should have that because that is inevitable. The other 2, it's just about you hedging your bets and, mitigating risk. They're not guaranteed to happen, but you want to be protected if it does. But as for life insurance, for me, I'll say that's number 1 because it's going to happen. Dying is going to happen. Income protection. Income protection is you saying, if I get sick or injured and something happens to me and I'm unable to work, how will I replace my income? Because my bills will not stop.
Yeah.
And the sick pay from your workplace is not going to be more than a year. So if you have a long-term injury or a long-term sickness that prevents you from being able to work, meaning you're unable to draw an income, how do you pay your bills? Are you going to be the burden upon your friends and family for the rest of your life? Are you going to be able to survive off statutory sick pay, which is currently about £118 a week? Probably not. Then you ask yourself, right, is anywhere from, whatever the figure is 30 to 60, maybe £100 a month. Is that a bigger risk than losing your 5-figure salary yearly? Then you have critical illness. If you get cancer, stroke, heart attack, loss of foot, you lose your hand, you you get some heart condition. Like there's many things on the list. If that happens to you, would you like to receive, a lump sum to be able to either cover your salary, put it towards treatment, whatever you like? Would you like to be able to do that or not? Or do you want to be on GoFundMe begging the public for barely enough money?
Yeah.
Because when you see stuff like, these marathons for cancer and stuff like that to raise money, I just hope the victims or like people that have suffered with that, I hope they had critical illness. Because at least you'd have got a lump sum that maybe you could have put towards treatment.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately in this life, everything is money.
Yeah.
It's not that they can't cure the things. You just don't have the money to get to the person that can cure it. If you have the money, trust me, it can be done. There's somebody that can do it for the right money. But the problem is people don't have the money. Because think about it, why is there treatment? But they're not just treating you for free. They're saying, no, we can treat you, but if you don't have the money, we won't treat you. That's the biggest, harshest, like, do you know what I mean? You're telling someone that I can save you. I can treat the problem that you have, but I will not do it because you haven't given me a particular dollar amount. So I will watch you die, like, just because you haven't paid.
That sounds so harsh.
But that's what it is. This person has a mad situation and you're saying that treatment is 50 grand. But they tell you how mad the situation, and you know how mad the situation is. So you're saying if you don't cough up the 50 grand, that situation will continue in your life.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
I'm telling you, the world is harsh.
Crazy. Okay, so you're saying those three, and what about the other insurances? When are those applicable?
Like business insurance, obviously, where you have a business, right? You don't have a business,
you need to have that. Yeah.
But for a lot of business owners, they should know that business insurance is tax deductible. So relevant life. So life insurance through the company is tax deductible. So what does that mean? That means that you could set your family up to inherit, let's say, £1 million by paying the life insurance through your company, and you could tell HMRC, "Whoa, I'm paying you less tax because I'm paying for this." So it's a wonderful double whammy.
Okay.
Basically HMRC gets to pay for your policy.
Okay.
You might as well see it as that HMRC paying for your policy.
Okay.
So imagine, let's say your premiums are whatever the amount, but for the sake of numbers, £100 a month, right? That's what you're paying for your business, relevant life. Meaning if you die at any time, your business will get a lump sum of 1 million. Obviously, someone like me will put it into a trust, making it tax-free. So the business will have a cash injection of 1 million, right? At the same time, when it comes to paying your taxes, you get to tell HMRC, I'm sorry, I have to deduct £1,200 for the year because I'm paying for my life insurance.
Right.
So it's the best of both worlds. Not everybody.
Not everybody.
The wise business owners do it, yeah.
Okay.
So the wisest business owners will have two policies. They'll have a relevant life because it's tax deductible, and then they'll have a personal one because it's longer. Because the downsides to relevant life, it stops at 75.
Okay, right.
Whereas all my clients that have personal life cover, though it's not tax deductible, they're covered at least to 90 years old.
Okay.
So it's almost like, okay, cool. If I live beyond 75, at least I still have something.
Right. Okay. I get it. Okay. No, this stuff is so needed. And again, thank you so much for taking us through this, right? Within our community, conversation about protection and legacy can sometimes feel uncomfortable, which is why I'm having it, because sometimes we have to have uncomfortable conversations. What do you think needs to change culturally for more people to take this seriously? That's the first part of the question. And if we were to fast forward 10 years, right? If your message lands the way you want it to, how do you hope the next generation will think differently about money and legacy?
Wonderful question. So the first bit, what do I feel like it needs to be seen differently?
Yeah, what do you think needs to change culturally for more people to take this seriously?
They need to view it as, they need to think of two things. First thing, when you say that it's tough to have the conversation and it's morbid, you're a homeowner. If you were sat here right now, knowing that your door's left unlocked, how would this podcast interview go?
I'll be nervous.
It'd be constantly on your mind, right? Yeah. Until you got home and dealt with it, it would constantly hurt you.
Yeah.
This so-called morbid conversation. Yeah. Your door's locked, right? You haven't thought about it once during this podcast, and so I've just mentioned it now, right? Yeah. It's the same as having your affairs taken care of. As long as you don't have life insurance, every time I mention to you, what will happen to you if you die? It's always going to be a sticky subject because oh God, I hope I don't die tomorrow, because if I die tomorrow, it's a mess. Versus, Ato, if you die tomorrow, what will happen? Oh, well, my wife and family, they're going to inherit 1 million. So you see, you don't think about it ever again. It's the same as locking your door, not locking your door. If it's taken care of, you don't think about it. The other thing, they need to stop viewing it as if I die young. I think the problem that people have is they've added the word young to it. versus when I die. You want to live long, that's fine. Would you not like at the point when when your life comes to an end, your family gets an inheritance? There's no one that's against that.
Nobody.
That's the purpose of inheritance. Everybody wants to leave an inheritance.
Yeah.
So just view this as a vehicle of inheritance. That's it. Don't attach a death date to it, because you're covered all the way to 90 years old anyway. Or if you want, you can have whole of life. So you're covered for a very long time. So it's not, you're only covered for 5 years. So if you don't die within the next 5 years, then it doesn't pay out. That's not the case. Something like that I would understand, because you don't want to die in 5 years. But if you view it as, no, this is the same as me investing to make sure that my kids receive money when I'm not here. Same thing. You don't have to die young for it to pay out. You can live long and leave an inheritance, so you don't have to sacrifice one. That's what I think they should. If you start viewing it like that, everything will be different.
Okay.
And so your second question, if in 10 years everybody listened to me, then it means to me that what it would be is, when we're talking about these underfunded, businesses, black businesses aren't funded, black, women aren't funded for their businesses properly, black women are dying, 4 times the rate as to other ethnicities when there's childbirth. All of that was a very, very different conversation.
Okay.
It will be very different, because systematically, right? Let's look at it again from a business standpoint. Let's start with the childbirth situation. If you know that you're going to pay out, let's say on average, $500,000 for every black woman, right? And then there happens to be this particular set of hospitals that keep forcing you to prematurely pay out $500,000 every time. Like, it's not natural. They just keep doing it prematurely. They're costing you money. You as a business, a multi-billion pound business, are you not going to take action against that?
Right. Okay.
Whether they're not going to do it for moral or ethical reasons. They're going to do it for monetary reasons.
Okay.
I remember they've got the best lawyers in the world. Because think about it. If a woman takes out a policy today, right, just before she gets, pregnant, she gets pregnant, and then in 9 months, she's only paid £500 because her policy is, £50 a month or 10 months. And now we have to pay her family $500,000. And you keep on doing that. You think they're not going to investigate who is these hospitals that keep making us pay and prematurely? Why are you doing that? They're going to investigate that. They're not just going to let that slide and just be like, yeah, these people just... They're going to make sure that people aren't just dying like that for their own interest.
Okay.
But it benefits us. That's one. The second thing, we're talking about businesses not being funded. If it became normal, yeah? So you see how you said you lost your grandparents? Imagine if it was normal that you and your peers and your age group were all inheriting $500,000. Think of the projects that you'd be doing. Think of the angel investing you could do. Yeah. Do you now see how all of a sudden if someone wanted to raise a round of investment, getting 20 people to give 5K would be so much easier?
That's true.
Because it's only 5 out of $500,000, right?
You've got more money circulating.
Do you get it?
For sure. Yeah.
That's the impact it would make. Think about it. If everyone was getting that level of money from their grandparents, you're telling me that young people would be mortgage free from a young age.
Yeah.
How easy would it be for them to chase purpose? You don't need to be in a workplace that you don't like. You could afford to live off less money and do what you want, because the highest expense is gone.
Yeah. Which is your rent, yeah.
Do you understand? The highest expense is gone. Mortgage, and then on top, you'd probably even own. So it's even better. So it's not even like your rent's just getting paid. If you're getting $500,000, you're able to go buy a 300-400K house and have change.
Yeah.
That is the impact of an inevitable, because it's not like if you don't listen to me, your family lives forever. They're still going to die. You're still going to die. So why not make the best of the situation?
Yeah.
So like if everyone actually did what I was saying, we would all be in a better place, because naturally there'd be more wealth being passed on, and then we too would stop seeing GoFundMe links and start having a culture where if you hear a black person dies, you give your condolences, but in the back of your mind, well, I'm sure the kids are getting something.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to say that, versus all we think is how somebody's going to be in financial ruin, or we're just hoping and praying that they can gather enough donations, or we're just hoping and praying they can survive it, versus, oh, okay, sad, but I'm sure they're going to get something. I'm sure there's, something left. Like how we do for our other counterparts.
Yeah. This has been a very insightful conversation. I've enjoyed it because we've talked a lot about a lot of different things, and I hope that the audience and people that are watching and listening to this have really enjoyed it as well. Please do let us know what you think in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts on this one. And thank you so much, Ayo, for just like sharing all your thoughts on the subject. Because I think it's very important for us to really sit deeply and think more about, when we talk about legacy, I feel like a lot of people talk about legacy, but they omit that part of it, the whole protection part. And we need to start including protection when we're talking about legacy, because I think that's a very big part of, you know, setting your kids, and not just your kids, but your kids, right, as well, into the future. I think it's so important. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram, TikTok. It's the same handle, Ayo Noble _. You could also check out my YouTube channel, Insight with Ayo. And literally, I'm very responsive on Instagram. TikTok is a bit harder.
Okay.
Because
a lot of comments.
Yeah, and like the messaging structure of TikTok is not the easiest.
It's a bit younger demographic. So I think for them, it's like they're also just growing as well. So they're trying to also figure out the what. So I do understand from their perspective like how they can feel as well. But like I said, appreciate the work that you're doing, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. It's great work that you're really doing out here, because this stuff does change people's life. That's the truth of it.
That's the truth.
And not just lives, generations, right? And I think, again, a lot of us want to aspire to generational wealth. We want to do all of these things, but I think really and truly, we need to be thinking more about this. And you don't have to take too long to think about it. You know, you can have the conversation with an advisor. Maybe you check in, I don't know how often, what, quarterly is it? Or 6 months, or once a year?
Literally, it could be once a year, or at every significant landmark in your life. Because let's say you take out a policy today, then you buy a property in 6 months. Well, then you're going to need mortgage protection. Yeah. Or let's say you take out a policy today, but then you have another child, or you have your first child, and you might feel, the policy that I've inherited, maybe I want to leave a bit more. It's just as and when. And, you know, again, I'm a text away. My clients call me, text me like all the time. And it's like, I talk to them all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem. And just one thing that you said that I wanted to leave the audience with, so that they could take it in terms of the impact of it. You got to see it as you're working this hard to acquire the wealth. You need to guard it as well. And at the same time, this is the secret that has enabled one of the wealthiest families in the world, the Rockefellers, to stay wealthy. So if they do their research on the Rockefellers, they will see that it is a part of the family mandate that every family member, if they want to benefit from the estate of the family and the trust of the family, they all have to have a life insurance policy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So
that's interesting.
John D. Rockefeller's put that in place to say, right, even if you mess up and you spunk all the money, it doesn't matter. You're going to replace it, because when you die, the money will get paid back into the thing, right?
Oh.
Do you see?
Interesting.
So and then on top, everybody talks about investing, business and all of that. Why wouldn't you do the easiest thing? Why would you skip the easiest thing to try to play life on hard mode and be like, yeah, I'm trying to invest and I'm trying to do this. Not that you shouldn't do that, but why are you negating the easy thing? It's like trying to do your times tables before you're doing addition and subtraction. Yeah. Or like you want to be doing Pythagoras theorem and equations and quadratics, but addition and subtraction, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's important, and like I said, this is why we had this conversation. I really appreciate, everything that you've really shared with us. I think it's very, very insightful, and I didn't know that about the Rockefellers. I'm definitely going to do more, research on that. But thank you so much for featuring on the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. See you next week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, share your favorite part in the comments, tap the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable conversations.